Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. And me and the host, William, got the World War III report tonight. And I'm going to start off with you know, I didn't do the volcano report. I was kind of a little scatterbrained with the first show, but the Ring of Fire world eruption, a massive earthquake recently in Indonesia of 7.3, the depth of about 40 miles deep. This earthquake has left a trail of aftershocks known as it's triggered not only tsunami warnings, earthquake warnings, but now it is warnings of the highest level for all the volcanoes around the world. A hula hoop of circus jumping ring of fire, it says, and it's located at the rim of the Pacific Ocean, and it's approximately 24,000 miles in length. Um, the Ring of Fire's path along the Pacific Ocean is what is the strongest activity right now of volcanoes. The reason of the geographical location, this belt of Ring of Fire includes Pacific Coast, South America, North America, Russia, China, Australia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Japan. This is just to name a few. And it's tectonically active region uh, with the presence of more than 450 volcanoes and 40 to 50 of them, they say, are active. And volcanoes in the Andes, nearly 300 in the Philippines, 70 in Indonesia, 40 in Japan. This rounds to about 75% of Earth's volcanoes, making it the most uh, volcanically, they say, active zone in the world that they have seen in history. In fact, this is the very reason it's called the Ring of Fire. It's situated in the belt of Indonesia, Sumatra island that was hit with an earthquake of 7.3. And it urged that a warning to all volcanologists and earthquake people to now put out the warning. So now I know why a Dutch sense is so active right now. And not that he isn't putting out all the information, but when you look at the volcanologist with USGS, they are giving the highest warning of the ring of fire that, and the same thing that we've been saying, that the San Andreas fault line is unstable. While residents of Indonesia see the brisk of evacuations to move to safer areas, tsunami warnings. There are just no tsunamis, and between the volcanologists and the earthquake USGS, they do not understand why the tsunamis aren't happening with from shallow even to the deep. And 21 earthquakes were felt in the South Pacific region, 15 around the Pacific margin, 50 in the Southwest Pacific regions. These are weekly numbers. Remember, I said 50 in along the San Andreas fault line for the West Coast. This is what they're talking about. Though the intensity and the depths differ, these numbers are very worrisome, and they between the volcanologists and USGS and the earthquakes, they don't understand what they mean because there is so much you can predict with an earthquake or a volcano. And just imagine the risk of residing in these regions. Its geographical history, and with these seismic challenges, we are looking at the highest warning along the west coast of the Pacific Ocean that we have ever seen in history. Um, so did want to get that out. William, boy, welcome. I started the show and I just took over the host of the most. That's what I'm thinking, y'all.
Well, you know that geologists for the last 40 years have preached that things geologically happen slowly. Um,
Yeah.
that's getting ready to do something.
And, of course, I got to do a little bit of news. And one of the first things that was come out in the news, and it was second page news, but I feel it's important. And, maybe the media will pick it up in 2, 3 days. And William probably agree with me on this one, that the migrants who flee from their countries now have fled to the United States, are now fleeing from blue to red communities. Um, and, we consider, are they refugees or invaders? The refugees tend to assimilate, but with respect to traditions of what their loyalties are, the invaders, on the other hand, seem to be intent on red communities. And why? Um, they are finding they're ending up homeless in blue communities. They're ending up with nothing. And so now they have fled to the red states where it's less migration. They're given uh, the opportunity to work and to become citizens and keep in touch. So the the ones that are moving to the red states I'm thinking, I don't know how true this is. Let's see, this is let's see what publication this is first. Um, Federalist, so they're pretty good on this. Um, so they're relocating and they're asking the blue states to relocate them to the red states. Why? It's cheaper. They're able to find jobs easier. And so to me, these are migrants. These aren't illegals. Now, the rest of them that are there, 50-50 on this, are seeking to change the vote. They are joining gangs. They are committing crimes in these blue states. And so it really accelerated during the lockdowns, but now we're seeing an increase. And so now the bureaucrats are relocating them to, they say, deeper red states, but they've realized they've made a mistake, William. This is what gets me. They know they made a mistake. And so what are they doing is they're putting more and more, making sure. So what we seen in Martha Vineyard, they moved them to another blue state. Now they're unhappy. They said there's nothing here, they're homeless, and there's no jobs. And the crime rate, they're being robbed. So now they're moving to red states, and guess what? They are cutting them off of aid. So how fair is this? So since they say that this voting for the blue states have failed, they're now going to move them to conservative communities and overwhelm them so they turn on them. And what they're finding out is these are working families that are willing. William, I complain all the time that I've had family members that do it the right way, and they go and they take the test. They do everything they need to become a citizen. That's what these guys are doing. Now they're demonizing them. They're called the um, Republican sellouts. And they said that the Republicans are now, that's why we're seeing Joe Biden mention on his little speech he made. I didn't watch it. I don't want to watch it. Who cares? Because, they lie, 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 lie. But, William, the thing is now we see the migrants, the true migrants, seeing that what they just got themselves into is the worst nightmare they've ever been a part of. And not only that,
They're a long way from home.
Now get this, they're saying, we're talking the ones with families. So what's the big question to the blue states or the Democrats? Where's our kids? That's how this ends. Is where's our kids? And they're saying we don't know. And now, William, it came out today that we are now seeing that they have been caught with one of the biggest human trafficking in America. and they don't know where these kids are. And they said they've been trafficked to work in farms and um, um, huge factories to sexual trafficking, human trafficking.
These kids are going to pop up all over the world.
Hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to even give a response to that. I mean, I shouldn't have put you on the spot there, but um, now we're seeing the worst of this administration of not only the high amounts coming over the border, but then get this now, in his speech, he wants to defund the border patrol, defund the police, defund the border. Uh, and people can't see that this is their cause, this is their mission. I think they can. I think they're
Well,
seeing
the
right through
Border
it.
Patrol spoke in Congress that the border was not under control, and so Biden's going to take it out on guess who?
Now, Karen had a good point here. She said, I'm not sorry to say, but they came to our country illegally. They must do it legally. Karen, these are the ones that came legally. They went through they went through the border check-in. They had their kids taken. They got shipped to somewhere they didn't want to be. They're realizing that this isn't going to cut it. They have no jobs. They're homeless. So then they were shipped to the red states where they're actually able to have a life, but they're only going to have life if they find their kids. And so they turn to the government and say, where's our kids? And the government's saying, well, you don't know. You didn't keep track of them. Boy, this is, this what we the Republicans have been saying from the very beginning, even during the Trump administration, that these kids did not need to be separated from their parents. If they came over by themselves, yes, but if they came over with families, why are they taking these kids away? And now we know because it's coming out in by a whistleblower with Border Patrol that said that this is happening, that they are grabbing these kids up and putting them into foundations. The foundations are shipping them into uh, the hands basically of the cartels that's here in the United States, or people that have been here that know these kids are coming that owe the cartel money. Boy, it gets deep, William. This is getting really deep with what's going on with the border. Even
This
blaming.
is the problem with private, uh, what do we call it? Government and private partnerships. When they use these 501c3s and 501c4 organizations to do their work for them, and they don't have the same requirements the government has on paperwork, keeping track of them, doing follow-ups, and so what happens? They slip through the cracks. These public-private partnerships are a nightmare.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, Now, we also found out today that Michigan Democrat Kathy Funk, who served as Flint Township, was sentenced to 6 months, only 6 months, and she was on house arrest, basically, so she's not going to see any jail time for the tampering with ballots in the 2020 election. So hopefully, we mentioned that. Don't get us a strike. She pleaded no contest to the misconduct in office, which is treated the same as a guilty plea for sentence purposes. Now, I can't really say much on this, except for that this is what happened to her. This is according to um, when you look at the journalists that are allowed to repeat things, not only on YouTube or Facebook or any platform, that this is all we're allowed to say, that she was guilty, she pled guilty, and she was sentenced to 6 months. Um, uh, Yeah.
So kids, when it comes to elections, follow the laws. Don't don't step outside the law. Make sure you're a citizen. One vote. That's it.
Yeah. And then, we're seeing a lot of, William, with this, not only, I'm not sure, let me check out. This was um, Michigan. But now we're seeing not only Michigan, but Wisconsin, New York, Chicago. We're starting to see state attorneys, some DAs, governors, quite a few of them aren't seeking re-election, and they're not saying it, and they're almost worried to the point of being scared to say they will no longer seek re-election, and this is happening a lot. Look at William. Did you hear Lori Lightfoot saying, "Oh, they need to do something about the crime"? I mean, my whole um, when I heard that, I was in shock. It's like, why didn't
Well,
you
she's
do
trying
anything?
to whitewash herself so she can get ready to run again.
Yeah.
Well,
And
somebody's in power like that, they're going to want to come back.
is she looking at the state attorney's position? Because now we
She's
got,
looking at something.
okay,
She
so
could run for governor again. She could do something, but first of all, she's got to place the blame on who's in power now.
yeah, so I mean, so what I did was I said, okay, what's coming open that she could be looking into? Because me and you, we have the same mindset. Scary. But come to find out, Chicago State Attorney Kim Foxx is not going to run for office. So the state attorney's office is now open. And then I said, bingo, this is it. And she said that who's basically her look on crime, she just didn't want to face it. And this is bad news for her term, and it doesn't end till November 2024, which means she still has about a year and a half to get more people. Or um, is she looking at she could be slaughtered for the next couple of years on crime and how it's tsunamied out of uh, basically out of control. So um, this is so this is what I'm thinking. And you're saying, okay, well, maybe that's an old article. No, that was as of yesterday that um, Kim Foxx decided not to seek reelection. Oddly, then we had Lori Lightfoot come forward and say, hey, I'm hard on crime. Now, I'm just, this could be just my own opinion, and it may not happen, but this is how I look things up. And William, it makes a lot of sense. When she said this, she was seeking an office somewhere else. You don't go from doing nothing to, hey, I'm going to do something with crime once again. So, um,
Yep, I'm
what
with you.
now, William? Have you? I mean, over the years, when we heard this UFO stuff about these weird cattle mutilations, and this is, and I wouldn't have paid attention if it wasn't on everything today. And what's going on with these strange deaths? Now, all of a sudden, more cattle are being mutilated, and what we mean by mutilated is their eyes and their internal organs are being taken. That's it. Sometimes they take the lips.
Just one eyeball, part of the lip, and they core out the genital area, and it looks like they've been taken with a laser. And then these cows are dropped, and so they might end up on a fence post or in a tree, whatever. They're found in all kinds of crazy places. If you want to have a good understanding of cattle mutilations, go Google Linda Moulton Howe. She's been doing research on this for
decades,
30 years. And if there's anything to be learned, she knows it.
Yeah, And so, they said that it had slowed down, and they did mention Linda Howe um, on this article, and they said it slowed down when she was starting to almost get to the bottom of what was going on. And then the whole industry kind of died down, and we didn't see nothing until Skinwalker Ranch. And then now it's a new thing where cows are being mutilated and dropped. And this is a new one. I don't know if Linda Howe, I know quite a few viewers watch her, but I have not heard this before until this article with PJ News, where when they're looking at them, the innards, um, their guts are taken, their eyes and their mouth, their tongue is taken. But what they're finding is that the whole cow is basically, when they've studied it, has been dropped from a high level of like.
Yeah, and they're exsanguinated too, so there's no blood in the area. Um, their bodies are just basically vacuumed out, and so it's always been a problem for
Mm-hmm.
ranchers, um, especially in the high country. And sheriffs don't know what to do with it. No, but it often happens at night. So even predators like wolves and whatnot, cougars won't touch those carcasses as well.
And Karen said this isn't new. Yes, Karen, this is new, because you've heard about the cattle mutilation a long time ago. They were doing cows, goats, and young livestock, but then it quieted down, and they haven't heard nothing. Now, all of a sudden, when they have these new UFO sightings that the Pentagon has come out with, now we're seeing new cattle mutilations. So I bet we're all going to have to kind of run over to Linda Howe and see what she has to say on her page, because she's the one that studied
Yeah.
this.
Hopefully she's still with us.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got that worry because even people around Steve Quell are ending up sick. And how odd is that? Um, and it's not just Steve Quell and L.A. Marzulli and Timothy Arborino. Um, this is now starting to be all media is starting to take notice of this. I mean, when PJ News caught the story, now we know that all the media knew about this, and for how long we don't know.
So they've really known about it for about 30 years, and the thing is the UFO issue has been played down, and now that the government has said, yeah, there's UFOs, so now when this thing starts ramping up again, because it goes in cycles, it's kind of like a roller coaster, going up and down as the number of mutilations. Now they can talk about it. They could never talk about it before because it made them sound like they were crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they sure did. Well, they've all labeled UFOs is what they call them, crazy. You know, and now
Yeah.
we're seeing that even the Pentagon is letting loose. Um, and I don't want to say these are UFO little green men, but they're seeing crafts in the sky that they can't explain. I don't want to go with little green man until there's data. There's a little green man out there, William, because I just don't think this is little green man
We've had
material.
sightings before. If you reference Rendlesham Forest,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same thing that happened at Rendlesham Forest in UK has happened here in the States as well. So if you want to know what they look like, what's on them, what they do, the after effects on the ground.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move on because, me and you've talked about Haiti, and we put about 2,000 boots on the ground in Haiti. Now, civilian mobs, due to the United States coming over and trying to subdue the mobs, they went on a burning spree, and they ended up burning and hanging suspected gang members. So Haiti, like Venezuela and El Salvador and a few others, are now seeing that good people are leaving, and what they've left is these thugs. And now the civilians that are left, they go on a lynching spree, burning over dozens of suspected gang members or even Antifa and ISIS. And they said they've had enough.
Once you don't have an official government and policing organizations, people will take to themselves the right to protect their community. And when they do that, they don't have jails. They don't have lockups. They don't have prisons. And what happens is whoever they decide, through whatever means they decided, okay, this isn't like police detectives or something like that. They're going to decide it in the spur of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And those folks aren't going to survive.
Now, not only did now this is what is really horrible, and I'm sorry for those that can't handle hearing really um, uh, criminal and uh, abuse so far to the point where we got to put a warning up. But the Haitian police announced on Monday the residents of the capital city, Port-au-Prince, they were overpowered by a group of suspected gang members, and they executed them on the spot. Then they were hanging some of them and even setting them on fire. Whether they were running around, they were torching them or hanging or basically anything that they could catch them and set them on fire. Uh, and this was Haitian.
They do this terrible thing. It's called ringing.
Yeah.
They put tires around people, and so the people can't move. They got tires from their chest down, and then they torch them.
Yeah, and see this is what's going on in Haiti. And I thought this might. When I first seen it, I was like, "You sure this isn't Sudan?" Um, but there, I mean, it's even worse in Sudan at this point. But now we're hearing, even though we put boots on the ground and we had moved in to protect Haiti, that they're still killing people. And now we're talking about pulling our troops out of Haiti and Sudan. William, this is what gets me. Is it because of the uprising of the people that are saying enough is enough?
So what happens? This is a civil war in Sudan, and we have to move our people out or we'll get caught in the crossfire. It's the same thing that happened in Somalia. Mm-hmm. There's no difference. And if you leave any civilians that are high value individuals, meaning that other governments have concern for them, they're going to become a target to be kidnapped, mm-hmm. or whatever to get more power for their side. Whether they trade these people for arms, they trade them for money. Eventually, it'll be traded for arms, and that's why you have to get State Department people, ambassadors, and get them out, mm-hmm. before these things get too much. The instant a airliner gets shot up at the airport, that's it. Everybody has to go.
Yeah.
Don't play around, or you end up with Benghazi.
Not only that, but what we're seeing in Haiti, and seeing in Sudan, we're seeing in Syria. Now, Linda asked, who got hung? the police and thugs. It was the thugs. Um, they came in, and there was nothing the police could do but watch as these people that were accused, they were getting a hold of them and killing them. If they couldn't, then they were setting the prisons ablaze. Um, and this is something we've seen with Venezuela right after Bernie Sanders told us, we live and look at Venezuela, we could live on socialism. And the same thing happened. We started seeing um, the thugs coming out, and basically the whole the whole country went down to where gas was so high. But how are the wealthy living? Very well, very very well. And so,
Well, there's in Haiti, everybody's poor, and
mhm,
Haiti and the Dominican Republic are all one island. There's just a border between the Haitian part, Dominican Republic part. Dominican Republic is, for all intents and purposes, uh, the equivalent of, say, Puerto Rico.
mhm,
It's a safe place to be. You can visit for the most part. We have some right now, some warnings not to go to the Dominican Republic, but cruise ships land there, all that sort of stuff. But on the Haitian side, um, it's just a different deal, and the two sides of the island have differing. I don't know what you would call it. They're culturally different in the way they deal with government
yeah,
and how the government deals with them. And one leaves half the island poor and impoverished, and the other half thriving. And it's sad. If
yeah,
I was in Haiti, I would beg the Dominican Republic to take over,
so
because then I'd have a brighter future,
yeah,
and their governmental affairs work better.
yeah. And so, we've seen this in Venezuela too, William, where it became uh, the leader raised the prices. He brought in socialism. It got crazy. Then all of a sudden, the I'm gonna say Antifa, because Antifa was found down there during the protests, the original protests, to where they took Venezuela down to where everybody left, and now the president can do what he wants. And this is what Bernie Sanders wanted for us, and now we see it happening with Asia.
Now, Haiti was a little different. Their
Right,
president was assassinated, and
right.
then the government collapsed.
But it's
The only thing that's functioning is the police in Port-au-Prince.
yeah. And the thing is when you have the civilian mobs that go on a lynching spree, and they're burning over a dozen suspected gang members. So what I'm hearing on the ground is he's not going to do nothing. This president, the United States have cheated us. We went up there, now we're coming back, and we're in a country that is totally destroyed. Now, Haiti, you remember, William, if I remember right, Biden refused to let any of them come over. So they had to do the whole Haitian moving in through as an illegal, and they got in here illegally. But now the civilians are left. They're just, what do they do? When you have got like the protests we have with Antifa taking over our streets and chasing very good businesses away. So they went
Well, you
on
have
a,
to protect your children, whatever it is. You got to protect your children.
yeah. And so they're burning over a dozen suspected gang members. So the people are saying enough is enough. We are done with this crime spree. We're done with gang members or the ones committing it. And they said it's a warning to the United States. Look at these crime sprees, or them bursting into stores, or them doing a killing. That this could be what Haiti was seeing. And it's just the United States is going to be the next to fall, or South America.
Well, you know, the United States is in Haiti, but we're there mostly to provide aid. We're not there to provide security.
Yeah, and I think we're going to pull
we
out.
have to actually put Marines in to distribute aid, because otherwise, whoever's distributing aid will be overrun. We have to distribute aid at the point of a gun in Haiti.
Yeah, and Haiti and Venezuela is a good way to show what's going to happen to our country in 2 years if we don't change anything. We might have to wait and then take in a new president and fix this, because Haiti is only going to be worse and spread. And we see it in uh, Australia and um, quite a few of the islands where they've taken Jinping's side. And so this isn't good.
Once these killings start, it always spirals downhill, and it'll end up like Rwanda, and you'll end up with two different groups in the country, and they'll kill themselves almost to a standstill.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have guns, so they go to hacking each other's heads off with machetes. It's ugly.
Mm-hmm. Well, war is ugly. So, and then we got Taliban kills ISIS terrorist who planned a lethal attack on the United States during the Afghan withdrawal. Now we knew, William, I knew ISIS was there. I mean, that in the Taliban mercenaries, I knew they were all there. I mean, that was almost a gimme. But you know what,
they weren't there when we left those weapons. They all went there.
Yeah.
To grab them up.
Yeah. And the thing about this is, when the U.S. troops did the withdrawal, we knew there was terrorists. And now over the, 2 years now, close to 2 years, it's more longer with Afghan and Russia. It goes way back. But if we look at this year alone, if the Democrats think that they can solve it on basically the 11th hour, saying that all we got to do is stick to this new agenda. And they say this 11 U.S. Marines, they're going to send one Navy sailor, whoopee, and quite a few others into check out what was going on with CIA, NSA, um, NSB. I'm trying to think of all the publications. Anyway, so what they did is they planned this lethal attack and on the U.S. troops during the Afghanistan withdrawal. Now we know that, William. I mean, that was what we heard. But in return, Afghan has now claimed that the Taliban has killed the terrorist who planned the lethal attack. Now, but when I looked at the Taliban, and they said it wasn't us, it was USA. And me and you talked about this on the phone, and I said, when it comes to Taliban or the Arabs, even all the way to Egypt, when something happens and they kill or they assassinate somebody, they said the USA did it. US did it. US did it. Almost like, what I tell you on the phone, we always say Russia, Russia, Russia. Russia had nothing to do with this, though. But why the Taliban is refusing. Okay, hold on, and I'll let you talk. The Taliban is now wanting to put the blame on the United States, the Biden administration, that they killed this terrorist leader, and the Taliban's like, oh, not us. It wasn't us. It was the United States. Now go ahead.
So we pretty much protect the international order, the international laws, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We're hated all over the world for that because we stop people who would be doing bad things on the high seas or whatever from being able to ship things, arms, people, drugs, whatever. They hate us for that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these countries function on a basic tribal criminal organizational basis, okay? So anytime something happens, regardless of who does it, even if they know it's somebody else that did it, well, we made a third party do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's always the United States. It's the first thing that comes out of somebody's mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And oh boy. We
even if in the beginning they know it's not the United States, it will be repeated back and forth that it's the United States through all
Mm-hmm.
the tribal members to the point they'll actually believe it.
Yeah.
They'll talk
But
themselves into
William, what we
States.
portrayed, what the people in our viewers seeing with this whole Afghanistan is dozens of Afghanistan jumping on this plane, and how we lost 15 servicemen and then they left a bunch behind. See, this is what they're seeing. And then now, okay, in light of this, I don't know if a lot of people remember, but they blew up a car that had nothing to do with this. And so what we did was dumb, because we blew up the wrong car. We didn't look far enough into it. And this is where I could see that the Arabs and even Egypt are looking that USA is responsible for this. And now, so it wouldn't be Afghans, because we're talking about the leader of ISIS. They say ISIS K was killed by the United States. And I don't think we'll ever know. I don't think the Arabs will ever let us know. They're not going to do an investigation. And of course, this administration.
ISIS and the Taliban started forcing their way into the two counties that merge on that are on the border with Afghanistan. If that guy disappeared, Pakistan took him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up, Pakistan's the one that has the reason.
So
remember, everything has to do with power dynamics. Mm-hmm. We're out of the region. We don't care.
Yeah.
But Pakistan does, and the people trading arms through northern Pakistan and then turning up in Kashmir, causing problems between the Indians and the Pakistanis, who, by the way, both have nuclear weapons pointed at each other. They've got a reason to make this stop.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think they will. I don't think they will. And, moving on to, because, we're running out of time, but I'll keep going on this because there's a lot more coming for the show. Now we have, when we went over, or one of our Democrats and the rest of them went over to Japan and the Philippines. The thing about it was they hit up South Korea before they left. And then we did exercises, which inflamed Kim Jong-un. And so what the whole deal was is with South Korea, they visited last, but they did Japan, the Philippines, and a little bit in Taiwan. And a lot of people don't know about their travels. And what it was is they wanted to make sure that they could bring in nuclear subs in South Korea. They have not done this in 40 years. So this is showing how serious this war is. And, that's where I had to read it. And I said, oh my goodness. You know me, William. this is it. They're going to start the war. But no, nor, North Korea and Kim Jong Un is going through a power struggle, folks. And I think this power struggle, until they find out who's actually going to be the big leader of North Korea, I think a lot of this is the beginning of the flexing of the muscles. What do you think?
So there's a power struggle right now between three entities inside of North Korea right now. It's Kim Jong-un's daughter, Kim Jong-un's wife, and his sister. One of those three women are going to turn out to be in power. Now, Kim Jong-un's sister right now is head of the Ministry of Information. We could call that propaganda, but she's head of the Ministry of Information. And she's been making some public statements that have been draconian.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's putting everybody on edge now, because now North Korea knows, well, she's popped off and said some things that are dangerous, that she would be willing to attack the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Now we're going to have an exercise. Well, we're going to have to let them know, let North Korea know that, hey, you can say it, but don't do it.
Yeah.
And there's only one way to make sure that happens, is make sure they know that if they try it, they're over.
Yeah. And I mean,
that's how you control mad people. They're madmen. And that's the only way to control them.
Yeah. And, you know, North Korea said their response to us putting all these sanctions on them is, okay, you can do the sanctions, but all we're going to do is it causes us to keep building. And they are building to be ready. And they said they're close to it. It could take 4 years for them to be ready to even go to war with even China. And they think China will be the first place where they're going to need defense for. And
so North Korea's weapons compared to the United States are, to be generous, antiquated. So their major weapon systems won't get them very far.
Yeah.
What they do have is an army that's dug in for defense. But if they don't have air power that can overwhelm South Korea's, if they don't have tanks that can be protected by aircraft, they can't cross the line and go very far. So they're frustrated. They're in a box.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's definitely.
And they're in a power, and they're in an internal power struggle, which makes them extra dangerous, because they'll do things in that power struggle that are that will cause them to be eviscerated. This happens all the time in totalitarian countries.
Yeah, and they're inserting themselves. And I thought, you know, if we're going to do the submarines to South Korea, so what would it be the response, and where does North Korea fit in with this whole China, Taiwan, the United States? Where do they fit in, except for them shooting missiles a lot right now?
Yeah, they're an irritation, basically.
Yeah.
But, you know, look at it like Iran. Iran kicked the Shah out. They brought in the Ayatollahs. They went through their power struggles from within. And then what happened? Saddam attacked them. They ended up in an 11-year war. That's what happens when power struggles happens. An external force will take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Now, there's no external force. South Korea doesn't want to go north and go into war.
Yeah.
But they got borders with China and Russia.
And you
now,
know, what
China
is this?
or Russia take advantage of it? You bet China would.
yeah, and we have Taiwan. They're building up every single day, and they're trying to put the plan of war into place. And now that we've gave South Korea subs, now my thing is China has been blocking off the Taiwan Straits. Now I didn't mention this to you earlier, but it's dawned on me that I tell our viewers all the time that China's blocking the straits. Now, if South Korea puts in subs right there, wouldn't that basically keep China from blocking the strait?
Those aren't. I don't think we sold them subs. I think those are our subs.
Yeah, there
it
are
just means
subs.
that we'll keep the subs for the most part out in deep water because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But if they try to blockade Taiwan on the Pacific side, they're not going to be able to do that. They just can't because their ships won't survive.
Yeah. And
so we're going to be able to reinforce Taiwan. That's their problem. Is they want to be able to completely blockade Taiwan, and they can't do it.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the water navy to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And so as we I probably won't have enough to do all of this stuff. We had Jinping sending over delegates or advisors to go over to talk to Putin about this 12-point peace plan. Now, it wasn't about, and now he has mentioned he's going to make a phone call to Zelensky for this peace plan.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? I have a funny feeling it's going to happen because they're not letting people know, and this is what Tucker Carlson got taken out for. A lot of people thinks it's all this other stuff. No, he had let it known that Ukraine was losing this war, and that they were looking at pushing Zelensky into a peace treaty, which he's thinking, hey, I got the world. I'm going to go after Russia and I'm going to annihilate them. Because William, what I found out is he had put a huge strike plan towards Moscow. He's not going to stop. Putin's not going to stop. And so China feels. Go ahead.
Russia's been through this before.
Mm-hmm.
In the Great Patriotic War. That's what we call World War II. They call it the Great Patriotic War. The first year of any war with Russia, Russia tends to not win. All right? But after about 12 months to 15, 16 months, Russia gets geared up and they start pushing harder and harder. It's like a slow tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
And once it gets moving, you're not going to stop it. Now, they're probably, I don't want to say what's going to happen into the future with Ukraine and our diplomacy and whatnot, but the chances of taking Russia out historically are non-existent. The Russian people always rally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And oh goodness. I did want to mention BRIC because BRIC is having their huge the big meeting with BRIC, and me and you've even talked about who they are, and what they're saying is the ICC, International International let me pull it up so I get this right.
ICC, International.
Yeah. And all it says is ICC. See, what they want to do is, it's with this national conference they're holding, between the 21st and the 24th. What they want to do is the ICC issued an arrest warrant for Putin, accusing him of war crimes. So this has put, and I wish they would say what the ICC was. They just say an ICC, and it's nowhere on this.
International Criminal Court.
An International Criminal Court. Okay, thank you. So that is, I think it's through the UN, William?
No, it's actually through Brussels.
Okay.
In The Hague.
Okay, so that's Europe.
Yeah.
Okay, so Europe is going to charge him, and for something in South Africa.
By Metropol, the International Police Metropol.
Right, and see what's going on is even South Africa with this summit that's happening, because South Africa is part of BRIC, and they said they have no authority to go after Russia on this, because of that this is something that they hold, and how many times they said with their G summits, their Davos, and all these meetings they have, that many officials have gone that's been wanted by the ICC. But now this is different. Why is it different? It's because they're at war with Putin, and they said they have no authority to go after Russia, and the ICC wants South Africa to detain him. They're demanding now, and this is
that's not going to happen.
No.
Putin's not going to go. Nor is Putin going to go there. Putin can go to China. Putin can go to India, because Russia has borders with China, and China has a border with India. Okay,
yeah.
So there's no Metropol that can arrest him, because you can't use military force to arrest him. Mm-hmm. All right. And in these other countries.
William, have you heard that he showed up?
International waters, he can't be arrested.
Now, did he show up? Do we know? I mean, it got real quiet. Putin got really quiet between the 21st and 24th. So do we know if he actually went? I mean, nobody's saying anything in South Africa. But now all of a sudden, boom, South Africa, and not only that, but Sudan is now erupted in war, and we're pulling everybody out. And so to me, there's a connection, because it's like, okay, if you let Putin go to South Africa, then you know what? We're going to pull out of Sudan. That's my opinion.
Sudan's in the middle of a civil war. That erupted all on its own. That just couldn't be suppressed anymore.
Yeah.
And when you can't suppress a civil war, it will break out. We try to suppress them as civil wars as long as we can, because it protects people's lives. But at some point, you can't risk all your diplomats and whatnot, and you can't put a big enough force on the ground. You can't justify it to Congress, put a big enough presence on the ground, and you just have to let them duke it out. Mm-hmm. Now, South Africa, if Putin flew to South Africa, could we redirect an airline, and that airline has military escort? No, we're not going to do that, because it's just going to end up in a bunch of bloodshed.
Yeah.
So Putin could probably go to South Africa, but Putin's not going to go shopping in Paris anymore.
No.
Just like
no, I don't think
George
so.
Bush, just like George Bush Jr. isn't leaving the United States because he invaded Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing applies to both of them.
Yeah, and We got DB in the house, everyone. DB, boy, I watch you on Facebook. And we've missed you. Especially, William needs another man to fight off these women in trivia. Big time. Don't you, William?
Well, I take a beating.
So now, William, you said you had a lot to say on India. Before I get into South Korea, like I said, this is probably going to go on another 30 minutes. So hopefully, William, you can hang in there with me. Boy, it's hot in the office. So go ahead with India.
There's a lot of tension right now in the world, and it's because of Ukraine and alignments because of Ukraine. Okay, let's just get that out there. Now we can move on. BRICS is an organization to buy and sell goods between Brazil, Russia, India, and China. That's what BRICS means. Those four countries. Now, Russia and China are aligned. Okay, right now they're frenemies. Okay, but India and Brazil are non-aligned countries, meaning they haven't become part of the NATO-U.S. sphere, and they haven't become part of the Russian-Chinese sphere. They are defensive in posture. They're not offensive militaries. And unlike India, Brazil doesn't have to worry about its neighbors. Their neighbors aren't being adventurous.
No.
But India has to offset China,
Mm-hmm.
and China is belligerent. So India half the time sides with the United States, half the time sides with Russia, but they have to maintain their fuel supplies at lower prices. They can't afford to pay the full world price. They're trying to build their economy and bring themselves out of poverty.
Mm-hmm.
They want to become, in order for them to survive, they recognize they have to industrialize, they have to build their cities, not just their cities, their highways, their electrical grid, sewers. That's a new thing, okay? They have they have 1 billion people. They have to build sewers, they have to clean up their water, they need to set up water systems, canals, whatnot, so they can irrigate more of their land. They got a lot of big, heavy things to do, and they just started in the 50s. China did it all at once, and what it do? It cost them what was it?
Mm-hmm.
10 million people died of starvation because of the instant industrialization. Well, India's trying to do it properly. They're not trying to endanger their people. So they do business with the United States. We sell them arms. We have agreements with them, but they also do with Russia for oil. They don't do as much with arms with Russia anymore. They do more with commodities. And we have to kind of say it's okay because they don't want to be completely aligned. They want to defend themselves. Now, on the other hand, when it comes to the South Pacific, they are part of the Quad. So they're part of Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Australia, and India are all involved in the South Pacific. So there are allies there, okay? But when it comes to the Indian Ocean, that's their pond, and we have to give them their autonomy.
But they're part of BRIC. See, that's me and you. We had that discussion that they're part of BRIC.
Right,
too.
They're a part of BRIC, that commodities, but they also do business the United States. So they're not completely part of that economy, okay, which is probably all going to be run on the ruble for right now until China gets things situated. But India's never going to do their banking and trust China. They'll do their banking with rubles and with dollars.
Yeah,
so they're kind of a multi-economy, if you will. Same thing with Brazil. Brazil doesn't do just bricks.
Right.
They do bricks when it comes to oil, and then they do, other commodities through the dollar. We send them, Fender guitars and everything else that we have in the United States ends up going to Brazil as well. So it's a multilateral situation. It's when you hear BRICS, it's not all or nothing. Even China is doing business with the United States. Now, they might lose most favored trade status, but Russia can do its business through China, and then China can relay its orders wherever and then move it to Russia. So really, the sanctions are only going to slow Russia down temporarily.
Yeah.
They'll just make other arrangements. So if people think that sanctions are going to be absolute, that's true in the very beginning, but where they can find allies as far as commodities go, they're gonna find them, and we can't stop that.
Yeah,
they're all part of the United Nations. Now they can be blocked from doing business in the EU. Russia can be blocked with doing business with the EU or with the United States, NATO partners, but we can't stop them from doing business with China. We can't stop them from doing business with India. We can't stop them from doing business with Brazil, for that matter. It doesn't mean that they want to become the same types of governments. All these governments are very different. Okay, all the members of BRICS have very different governments. None of them are the same. And so it's not about ideology. It's just about commodities.
Yeah. Now we know that there's that portion of border that India and China, and I've reported on it because they bring in all the military equipment, and once it's all used up and the ammunition's used up, they even go out there fist fighting over this border, and no one ever gets anywhere. But that even shows you the conflict between India and China on that border.
Well, India's smart about this because China just built a specific tank to be able to cross those borders and assault Indian troops. A light tank. So India has a reason to fear, but at the same time, they need to build their economy to be able to defend themselves. India doesn't want the United States to come in and defend it. India wants to be able to defend itself. India wants to be able to have its own autonomy.
Yeah, and
From
India
the time the British left India has said to the rest of the world, we're not going to be aligned with anybody, but we're not going to be anybody's foe either. We're going to be defensive in nature.
Yeah. Now, doesn't China, in a way, need India due to the fact for the trade flow down around the bottom of India?
Well, it's easier for China to be able to sail closer to India, but once they're out of in international waters, which is 120 miles off the coast of India, that's it. They can travel freely. The United States will ensure that China can travel freely in international waters.
Right. Yeah. So, You want me to move on to North Korea, or you got anything left you want to throw in on
Well,
India?
that's all we really need to talk about with BRICS. We can move on.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
So.
I'd like to say that we just had a group of people meet in Japan to get ready for the new G7 meeting next month in Japan. Today, the Prime Minister of Japan, who's an incumbent, was doing a political rally, and somebody brought a bomb. So that happened today, and they were able to get him out of there quick enough, and they were able to subdue the bomber. So that's great. But there's going to be a G7 conference, and of course, before that happens, we've got that military exercise with South Korea, and it's going to involve our ships that come out. Remember, we've got ships stationed in Japan that are going to be involved in all that. Mm-hmm. So all this is part of the same kind of global tapestry that's going on, getting ready for their economic conferences.
Yep. It's going to be, the G Summit and Davos and all of them, they're all going to be different, I think, this time around, because everybody is moving towards sides. And that's kind of what was even brought up with the generals of North Korea, moving on to North Korea, because now the generals have got, Mao, not only just Mao, but Kim Jong Il, I believe, is what he was, the father. He was, or
right.
Now, he was following the whole communist thing. And when, he had his own kids, his wife did die of cancer, but he grew up with with raising these three pretty much on his own as his wife was sick. And so Kim Jong-un was, I think, William was a little bit more, he was a baby of the family, I take it. But when he was asked, out of your kids, who's going to lead on with this communist regime? And what he wanted was to be the god, and to be able to show that North Korea was a superpower next to the three. He wanted to be four. Actually, I think he even wanted to be one on the list. So when asked, he said, my two sons are blockheads. It's the daughter, the princess, that eventually will rise to power, and she'll be very fierce. Now, she was only a very little girl when he said this, and so were the boys. So hold on a second.
Kim Jong-un brother, he was more interested in pleasures. He wasn't interested in power. Yeah. Kim Jong-un, when he was in Switzerland, all these kids were raised in Switzerland, right. Western universities. So he was more of a playboy, and he got into basketball and, the Dennis Rodman thing. That's why that all happened. But Sis, she was serious. She was a lot more serious about this whole thing. So Grandpa started this dynasty. It was straight communist then, but then it became from one heir to the next. Yeah. And so it is communist. It functions as a communist, except for the leader is hereditary.
Yeah. And isn't that how it is in Syria? Maybe I'm wrong. Isn't it the same way in?
Yeah.
Okay. So get this. So, his brother, when it came to where the power would go next, well, his brother said, I don't know, and he left. And what he did, he ended up hooking up with the CIA. He started giving the CIA secrets of North Korea. So of course he had to be done away with. And I know everybody's heard about it, and they say he killed his brother. If not, it was the sister. But when you've got someone that's blabbing that's supposed to go into power next, you can't have this. And they all look at Kim Jong Un, but even me and William agree. I think the sister did it. I think she ordered it because what was going on is we seen Kim Jong Un get married. He married a woman of social grace, and things started to change. He started bringing in uh, shopping malls, and he even brought in a ski thing that mimicked Switzerland, of his Switzerland days. So there was something with his wife that started making this change. Now, when the generals start seeing this, they said, we can't have this. He is going to a socialist uh, point of view. Now, I got to show you guys this because it's really, um, it is very interesting. If you say, what is it that um, would change his mind and go softer? Well, here she is, and her social grace, and she wanted to be more in with the people, and everybody said she's a star. I mean, she was famous, and they said, "What is she famous for?" Well, she was a well-known singer. You guys got to listen to this. I don't want to play too much of it, but she is a beautiful singer. And I think this is what the change was. But then, not even a year ago, get this, a year ago, she was talking about fleeing the country away from him, that something has happened. And now she is in fear of her life, of the sister. And so,
Both
um,
her and her daughter.
yeah, yeah, that's the whole thing is,
And
um,
so, like at the parades and stuff that happened just recently, Kim Jong Un had his daughter by his side.
mhm,
I don't think it's just for her being seen by the public, but for her being safe during the
mhm.
parade.
Yeah. And so what um and now the rumors are, and this is what I got from my reporter sources, is that when he was married and he started building these I mean, even amusement parks, he started going out, being with people, kissing kids, said, my wife is no longer the commando. She is first lady. But my number one person will be, or vice president, will be his sister. Now, when he did this, she got very offended and said, "You know what? This is too. This isn't the communist regime that was laid forth by our fathers and grandfathers, and it's time that." You need a break, you need a vacation. Now, all of a sudden, we heard that Kim Jong Un was on this island sick. And why he was sick, her and the generals got together, and she became number one. She even got to the point where she was above Kim Jong Un. And that's what we're seeing right now. So if we move to today, and all of these missiles being fired, and him and his daughter, I think he has to reposition himself, William, to bring himself back into power because his sister has taken over. She's the one responsible, they say. Her and the generals have now moved ahead. She is considered the number one. Not
Well,
not that Kim Jong Un is taking a step down. They're equal. And she says, you know what? We have got the missiles. We're going to go after the United States. We're going to go after Japan. We're going to go after Korea. So you guys had better watch out because our first strike is in 2 years. And so what's Kim Jong Un to do but to go along with it? And so now their daughter now is up and coming, and she seems to be the little princess that his dad said over Kim Yo Jung is her name, is the sister, Kim Yo Jung. And so now she is stepping forth and taking power. You know what, William, what concerns me is she spends more time with this little girl than the Kim Jong Un and his wife Ree. Um, Ree's got her
So
own thing. Go ahead.
You got family dynamics is one thing, but you also have to remember whoever's in charge in North Korea has to have the majority of the generals. The hardline generals are going to side with the sister. The more liberal generals are going to side with Kim Jong-un, but they all have to coexist in that country. And so there's going to be some division of power. And that's what we're seeing playing out.
Right.
But it's creating a vacuum, meaning that there's not a single point of decision making. So decision making becomes more schizophrenic, and that's the danger.
Well, you mentioned schizophrenia. The one general that was able to flee, and not general, the one, I guess, yeah, he is a general because he was in protection of not only Kim Jong-un, but his father. And when he fled, right after the father had died, he's the only one that's been able to flee the close family regime. He said the sister is crazy and that we need to be aware of her because when the brother went and laid out went with the CIA and gave him all the secrets, then she felt the need. She had to step forward. She had to run the country. She's a vixen. They call her a vixen, that she's evil, that she has the smile of a viper. And they said,
she's not insane, but she's maniacal. She's rational. She's just dangerously rational.
Okay, why will the U.S. make sure China can go in on international waters? They're not allowed. There's a boundary. Everybody's got their boundaries, Linda. Because I'm pretty much done with what I got to say with Kim Jong-un. It just gives you an idea of where we're at with North Korea. One last thing, North Korea. When asked lately, they said, Kim Jong-un, is there any country you're afraid of or that would intimidate you? And he said, China. And his sister jumped in. And she wasn't asked, she jumped in. And she said, I'm not afraid of China. I'm not afraid of any country. And that basically the world needs to watch out because Korea is coming. North Korea is up and coming and will be a world power very soon. So that was her. I wanted to end that on that, but China can go in
international. I'll answer that about the shipping. So in the world rules-based order set forth by the United Nations, 12 miles from your coast is your waters. You can arrest anybody in those 12 miles. From 12 miles out to 120 miles is your, you have the right to all the fishing, you have the right to the minerals, you have the right to the oil. And if anybody enters that, it's called an identification zone before they get to the 12 miles. And so, according to the world-based order, if China's shipping stays outside of 120 miles from India, off the tip of India, they can transit there. And if India tries to interfere, goes out into international waters, whatever, tries to board, the United States will step in and stop it because it's against the rules-based order. Just like having Russia attack Ukraine, that's against the rules-based order, meaning a powerful country doesn't have the right to jump the border and attack a smaller country. The same thing applies when it comes to shipping, and the United States will defend whoever it is out in international waters from being stopped by pirates or whatever in international waters. So if you try to stop somebody out in international waters, you don't have a good reason and you don't have a warrant from the United Nations, you're going to be in trouble with the United States.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great answer.
Treat everybody equally.
Yeah. I can't really add to that. That's a great answer for that, for Linda's question. William, do you got anything left you want to say on anything? Boy, we went over a lot tonight. We went an hour and a half, and there was a lot of info tonight on this. So
we're just watching. We're watching the world because of vacuums created. This is what happens in war: is presidents and Congresses and governments think that they can control what's going to happen in a war. Once you engage in a war, the war controls the leaders. Mm-hmm. And we're watching that right now, and we're watching all those power dynamics happen. Some nations are going to be forced to align, other nations are going to be forced to defend, but all of them are going to be forced to build up their militaries.
Yeah. And
this is an arms race happening.
Yeah. And as we what I would say for one of the last things to say is, we're looking at Ukraine and Russia, we're looking at Sudan, we're looking at Haiti, over to even North Korea wanting to maybe instigate a war with the United States, and then we have Taiwan. And China, and this is World War III. This is a world war of many wars. I didn't even mention Israel and Iran. See, that's another one. And we have not seen this many wars going on at once. I think this is historical. And
small wars aren't really consequential. The problem is right now is we have so much destabilization happening on every continent. And when you get destabilization and you get an arms race, guess what you get next? You go down that road far enough, you're going to reach your destination.
Yeah. That's so true. That's very true. And so now we're all just, I don't think Mary said something, she says so quiet. Well, yeah, it's quiet across the globe. Like everybody holding their breath and waiting. Who is going to do the first move? Wherever. Who's going to make that first move?
Everybody's keeping their secrets. They're keeping their hands close to their vest.
Yeah, they're keeping that finger above the button.
At the beginning of World War II, just like happened at the beginning of World War I. And something will touch it off. It'll be what happened in World War I is a man was assassinated in, where was it, the Czech Republic or Czechoslovakia? I can't remember. Serbia. It was in Serbia. And one thing after another happened. We ended up with World War I. Well, then you had Hitler do his thing. We ended up with World War II. We don't know how this thing's going to shake out.
No.
But we do know one thing.
It's going to be historical.
We do know this. The last major world war, nobody had atomic weapons.
No. And
that's what makes it
I think that's the biggest thing right now, William, is everybody's threatening with nukes, and nobody wants to do the nukes. I think they've now have looked.
It's the only thing that's keeping the relative peace on the globe right now.
Well, to a point. I mean, I think the whole thing is everybody is sat back now that, I mean, it's been over, I'm going to say over a month since Putin's even said, I'm going to use a nuclear. And some of these, even Iran and uh, even North Korea and China. I think everybody has thought about it and they said, no, this isn't a good idea. There's got to be a better
Well,
solution.
the girl in North Korea, she's in a power struggle, so she's going to do what she has to do to make her point and to get her way. But yeah, we're all dancing on the head of a pin here.
Yeah, we are.
And you don't want to lose any of your dancing partners, because when you're dancing on the head of a pin, you lose a dancing partner, everybody falls off.
Yeah, because there's so much more to it. Israel, Saudi, um, uh, Saudi and the oil, and I think eventually even the same with Saudi is going to. Uh, I'm not going to say cause a war, but it's going to be issues, and between the BRICS and um, um, NATO, and that we could see a country that's
you look
dividing.
at BRICS, who's involved with BRICS? They're right there close to the Persian Gulf, and so Saudi kind of has to get in line because, or they're going to have to compete directly with Russia for their market.
Yeah.
So what do? I mean,
it's turned into a small civil war. What we see with Ukraine or what we've seen in our own civil war, it's now has built up to a bigger war with bigger weapons. And we've seen the flexing of the muscles and we see them threatening one another. And now everybody, not everybody, but now we've seen China that is ready for war. North Korea ready for war. Israel ready for war. All these places are ready for war, William. And like you said, it's just one small mistake and it'll go. It'll go.
Well, things are tense when the Shia and the Sunni are friends.
Yeah.
They're always enemies when they can be.
Yeah.
But when they can't be enemies anymore, the rest of us are in a little danger. They don't get together for no reason. They have real dangers on their doorstep.
Yeah. And it is. And, just pray, everyone, that nobody makes a bad choice. Somebody out there that wants to see the war doesn't make a bad choice. That we have to, all of us or every country, jump in and fix and say, whoa. So
the important thing is don't look at what another country's doing based on what you think. When you see them act, you have to put yourself in their shoes, set your beliefs aside, or you won't understand what they're going to do next.
That's right.
You can't apply your reasoning to somebody on the other side of the world. Until you walk in their shoes, you have no idea. That's the problem we're having right now all over the world. We've got narratives that are being forced based on ideology that have nothing to do in other parts of the world, and somebody's going to make a misstep. We have to get to the point where we recognize what people do for why they do it, not for the reasons we think they ought to do it.
Yes, that's right. So
we can do that here at home, that's fine. But when it comes to other people in other places of the world, you have to understand them based on them. It's like Putin. Putin acts like Putin because he's where he is. Xi acts like Xi because of where he is and the power dynamics in China. These people have risen to the top for a reason. And you can't just take and impose your ideology on them and expect to have a decent outcome. You can't enforce democracy at the head of a gun, at the point of a gun. We've learned that in Iraq. We've learned that in Afghanistan. We can't get involved in nation building. What we can do is police things so that things don't get out of hand other places in the world and then get out of there as soon as we can, instead of like we did with Desert Storm. We had a particular objective. We got the world involved with it. We didn't go in by ourselves. We met the objective, and then we got the hell out. That's the only way to do a job in the world right now.
Linda asks about Russia and Ukraine might agree to unite against the U.S. I don't think that'll ever happen because the Biden family owns Ukraine, and it's just a matter of resources. So they will move in, and we will take Ukraine, but agree to share it with Germany or Poland.
So Ukraine will be part of the European Union. There's just no doubt about it. They're already part of it. But the Donbass, Luhansk, down to Crimea, that's the question right now. And if Ukraine is smart, they'll do the best they can and at least be able to get the taxes from those places.
Yeah.
They can still do that, but they got to think about what they're doing, and they got to be smart about it.
So,
because they could not just lose Luhansk, they could lose all of Ukraine.
Yeah.
There could be 60 million more people displaced.
Yeah. Okay, so William, with that, we're going to close it up for the night, and we thank you all for watching. William, great show, and I appreciate you hosting with me, and we're back so we can get things rolling here on Investigator News 2 and get back in the system and get back into giving the viewers the news that they need to know and the truth in news that we give you. And the World War III.
Everybody say prayers for Elly and her tight situation that she's got to deal with after the program.
Yeah, for those that don't know, my grandson was threatened at school with a kid with a gun today, him and his girlfriend. So I got to get it all straightened out this evening and tomorrow with the school system. So prayers, yes. And but subscribe. Boy, I thank all of you for your support. And I know me and William have loved your views on our show for the World War III news report. And, subscribe and hit the like button, hit that thumbs up. We had quite a few hit that thumbs up tonight. And we thank you for that. In the hearts. And we will be back with William next Wednesday. But as for tomorrow, we go back with the news. And Friday, of course, we got trivia. And so hit the follow and the like over on Facebook. And we've gotten quite a few new viewers over there. And hit subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button over here on YouTube. I only did today with the two where we did the network and Investigator News 2. Tomorrow, we're going to go back to just to one. It's just to let everybody know, the new viewers, that we will be on Investigator News 2 and Facebook investigators going on. And if we ever disappear, then you come look for us on Investigator News Network on YouTube. So with that, you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and God bless. And Wednesday night's usually church night. Get on in the church. Fill the churches for your Wednesday night Bible studies. And so with that, we will see you all tomorrow. And a salute to all of you veterans out there. We're there for you. The show's there for you, and we're going to move forward. And we are not going to let anybody get the wrong fake news. We're the truth in news. Okay, William, there we go. Still there? Okay. All right. We'll talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.